I was reborn in 1982, on the very day my birth parents found me. In that moment, Lian, my closest sister through hardship, and I just looked at each other. There were no more tears, no more begging them to take us home. Instead, we simply held each other tight, unwilling to ever let go, even if it meant life or death. Because in our previous life, when we finally returned to Commander Ren's family, I realized someone else had already taken my place, a foster sister. That girl, Chiuchi, accused me of pushing her, making her miss an important regiment performance. My parents and siblings called me cruel, and without a second thought, they broke my leg. You might have been the best female soldier, they sneered, but you're just a country bumpkin, ignorant and jealous. How dare you bully Chiuchi? Don't think that just because you're our biological daughter, you can do whatever you want. In this family, Chiuchi is the one we truly love. They used the excuse of my improper conduct to kick me out of the army, tossed me 3 yuan, an amount so small it meant nothing, and forced me to marry an old widower who already had a son, Ergo. Note, Ergo is a rural nickname derived from Erguzi, often used for boys considered foolish or unimportant. From then on, I was tormented until I died. As for Lian, after she returned to her birth parents, both respected scientists, she was ruined by a few words from her cousin, who accused her of trying to steal state secrets. "How could we have raised a traitor like you?" her parents shouted. After that, her cousin replaced her in the family, becoming the new daughter in their eyes. Lian, once a chemistry prodigy, was injected with drugs, left paralyzed, and locked away in the darkness of a laboratory. Before she died of starvation, she watched helplessly as her cousin took credit for her research, was admitted to the country's top university, and collected award after award. Shameless, you two aren't even real sisters. If you don't go home, where do you think you'll go? That's what they told us. Now, in this new life, when Commander Ren saw Lian and me clinging to each other, his brows furrowed in displeasure. Commander Ren was a strict, upright man who treated his children with the same discipline as his soldiers. But with the memories from my previous life, I could clearly see the disgust in his eyes. I said nothing. Lian, dissatisfied, stepped forward and pointed at Chiuchi, who stood behind Commander Ren, dressed in the trendiest shirt in the province. "Commander Ren," Lian asked, "Madame Ai told me there are only 2 daughters and 1 son in this house. So who is this girl?" Facing an outsider's question, Commander Ren managed to keep his patience. "After Kaya went missing, her mother couldn't sleep at night. We adopted Chiuchi to help her feel at ease." Lian gave a cold laugh, her eyes full of sarcasm. "If you really wanted her to be at ease, shouldn't you have searched harder for Kaya? Whose great idea was it to bring in a replacement?" Commander Ren, not used to being contradicted, immediately grew angry. "This is Ren family business. What right does an outsider child have to interfere?" Chiuchi's eyes filled with tears as she grabbed Commander Ren's arm, looking as if she'd been terribly wronged. "Father, if what my sister says is true, if I've taken her place, I can leave the Ren family. Just let me come back to visit you and Mother during the holidays." Commander Ren's face softened a little, but Lian only looked even more upset. "Who says you took your sister's place? Don't let your mind wander. You will always be our daughter," Commander Ren insisted. At that moment, I caught a flicker of triumph in Chiuchi's eyes. But I wasn't surprised, only felt an unexpected sense of relief. This scene had played out the same way in my previous life. Back then, I'd wanted family so badly. I never saw the truth. The Ren family could never let go of Chiuchi, the daughter they'd cherished for so many years. To them, I, the daughter lost for over a decade, meant less than a single finger of Chiuchi. No matter how hard I tried to win their affection, it was always useless. But whenever Chiuchi pouted, she could have anything she wanted. "What's wrong? Cat got your tongue. Are you just going to let an outsider bully your sister?" Commander Ren suddenly turned his criticism on me, his brows drawn tight, as if I'd committed some serious crime. "But outsider?" I actually laughed. Commander Ren, are you mistaken about something? In my heart, Lian is my true family, my real sister. As for her, Chiuchi, what does she mean to me? Nothing at all. Commander Ren clearly hadn't expected me to say such things. He glanced at Lian's parents, who were standing nearby, visibly embarrassed. His face darkened. Of course, Chiuchi seized the opportunity to pour fuel on the fire. Sis, I know you don't want to see me anymore. But you should at least respect father's decision, shouldn't you? After all, he's still your father. Commander Ren looked at her with satisfaction. So obedient, so sensible. This, to him, was what a real daughter should be. Then he looked at me, my expression indifferent. The more he compared us, the more he disliked me. Naturally, I saw the contempt in his eyes. If this had been my past self, I would have been burning with anxiety, trying everything to please him, terrified he'd throw me out of the Ren family again. What a joke. This was supposed to be my home, and yet I had lived here like some unwanted outsider, afraid to speak too loudly or step out of line. I wasn't even as comfortable here as I had been in the orphanage with Lian. With a family like this, why would I ever want to come back? I was already thinking about how to cut ties with the Ren family, when Lian's family began causing trouble of their own. Unlike Commander Ren, Zhenlin, Lian's father, was a scientific researcher, a man who considered himself highly educated and looked down on everyone around him. Yes, you're our daughter, he said, but your grades are simply too poor. You couldn't even get into Qingbei. You're not as good as your cousin. I doubt you'll ever become anything of value. Still, you're our biological child, so you can come home. We'll raise you. His arrogant tone made Lian squeeze my hand tight. I remembered, in our past life, Zhenlin had said the exact same thing. Back then, Lian had longed to go home. She ignored the sarcasm in his words, happy just thinking she could do research with her parents. Who would have guessed how cruel her fate would become? I gently tightened my grip on her hand, standing by her side. She didn't fail to get into Qingbei because she wasn't smart enough. Just before the exam, she'd eaten something by accident that made her fail a subject. If not for that, Qingbei would have welcomed her easily. But Zhenlin cut me off, impatient. So what? Do you know what really matters in research? Results. Stop making excuses for her failures. That only makes her look more pathetic. I couldn't stand the way he belittled Lian. All I wanted was to punch that smug face of his. I couldn't imagine how many times she'd been forced to listen to his cruel, degrading words in our past life. Why are there so many parents in this world who don't love their own children? If Lian hadn't held me back, I might really have hit Zhenlin right there. She looked at me calmly, as if the person speaking wasn't even her father, just a stranger. You think I'm not good enough, she said quietly. Well, I don't think you're fit to be my father either. So let's not recognize each other at all. Zhenlin sneered. Not fit to be your father? Do you even know who I am? Of course I did. In our past life, Lian's parents had both worked on classified national research projects. In the end, they even took her cousin along to receive public commendations. Back then, whether it was me, crippled and forced to marry a widower, or Lian, paralyzed and locked in a dark lab, we both saw their proud, smug faces on TV. Thinking of that, I squeezed Lian's hand even tighter. No matter who you are, I said coldly, you'll never deserve to be Lian's father, not ever. After being humiliated over and over, Zhenlin's face darkened with fury. He turned to Lian, who stood quietly at my side. Are you really going to listen to this unruly girl? He snapped. Lian shook her head. Zhenlin looked ready to mock me again, but she spoke up before he could. Kaya isn't unruly. Kaya is my only sister. I will never recognize you as my father. That was the last straw. Zhenlin's face flushed red with rage, his eyes burning like he wanted to tear us apart. He reached into his pocket, pulled out several ration coupons, and flung them to the ground at our feet with a bitter curse. Fine. I hope you never regret this. Take these food coupons and go. From now on, you have nothing to do with the Lin family. Even if you come crawling back, begging, we won't let you step through the door again. Lian and I didn't even spare him a glance, but we still picked up the coupons. These were what the Lin family owed Lian, and we had every right to take them. Commander Ren, who had been ignored the whole time, shot us a glance full of disdain. He cleared his throat, clearly trying to redirect my attention. You really love meddling in other people's business, don't you? He said. Fine. Apologize to your sister, and I'll take you home. Your room's already been cleaned. You should really learn from your little sister. She's young, but already a star in the women's corps. She'll be competing soon. You can come along, broaden your horizons. He went on, making all sorts of arrangements, but I simply shook my head. If Lian isn't going home, I'm not going either. Commander Ren was speechless. He turned to look at Lian, but she stood there, calm and still, unmoved by his gaze. Chiuchi, seeing that Commander Ren was seriously considering taking us both home, pulled a sorrowful expression. Sis, are we, your real family, really not important to you at all? She delivered the line flawlessly. And just like that, Commander Ren remembered all the disrespectful things I'd said earlier. His face turned cold. He said nothing more and walked away. Chiuchi, full of confidence now, followed after him, throwing me a smug little smile on her way out. But I wasn't angry. In fact, I felt relieved. Commander Ren was blunt and emotionally driven, unlike the Lin family, who only cared about status and gain. At first, I thought I'd have to argue more to avoid going back. Who would have guessed that Chiuchi would end up helping me? Not going back was for the best. Who wants to live where your own family plays favorites so openly? Lian and I caught each other's eyes and exchanged a bittersweet smile. It hurt. But there was freedom in that pain. Before going through everything in our past life, we had clung to the dream of family. Unlike the other kids in the orphanage, we weren't sick, orphans, or abandoned. Our parents were out there. We thought, surely they'd come. Back then, Lian and I used to sleep side by side, whispering to the moon, wishing our real parents would find us. We never imagined that even with living relatives, we might still never have a home. The director never expected that neither of us would go home. She was so furious, she raised her cane and thwacked us both on the head. Are you too stupid? Weren't you always wishing to go home? Anyone can see those two families are well off. So what on earth are you doing, staying here? But there was helplessness in her voice as she finally lowered the cane and let out a deep sigh. Lian and I both wiped our eyes. We had been raised by her hands. When we first arrived, she was barely in her 20s. People called her foolish, too young to be raising other people's children. Now she was in her 40s. Her once jet-black hair had turned silver from all the years of hardship. No one would have guessed that such a thin, frail woman would raise Lian and me, sending us both to university. Even with the younger children, she bit down and pushed through, making sure each and every one of them got the chance to go to school. Truth be told, just a few more years, and the director would have collapsed from exhaustion. In our past life, both Lian and I were so caught up in the illusion of family that we never even got to say goodbye. Thinking of that, I rushed over and hugged her tightly. Mom, this is our real home. We're not going anywhere. The director, caught between anger and love, tried to act stern. How long do you expect me to take care of you two? But her eyes were red. All right, eat first. I'll use these ration coupons to get some rice. Let's have a proper lunch. Oh, right. Kaya, your regiment's drill is coming up in a few days. Make sure you're practicing. Lian, you too, after lunch, head back to the lab. We both grinned and nodded. I thought, after such an ugly farewell, it would be a long time before I'd have to see anyone from the Ren family again. But I was wrong. The day before my physical fitness competition, the director and Lian were walking me back to my dorm. We had barely stepped outside when we ran right into them. This time, only Commander Ren came to pick me up. But when it was Chiuchi's turn to compete, the entire family showed up. Chiuchi stood in front of the army dormitory in a crisp, new uniform, surrounded by every member of the Wren family. My birth mother, my older brother and sister, all strangers in this lifetime. They each held Chiuchi's hand, fussing over her. "Chiuchi, give it your best tomorrow, but don't get hurt." "That's right, sweetheart. Winning isn't everything. Stay safe. No matter how it turns out, we'll always love you." Chiuchi spotted me from afar, her eyes gleaming with smug satisfaction. "I know, everyone. Please, don't worry about me." Then, as if she'd only just noticed me, she feigned surprise. "Oh? Sis, you're here too?" The Wren family followed her gaze, surprised to see me standing there, cold and distant. Even if they didn't want to admit it, I looked just like Commander Wren, especially with that same steely, unreadable face. My birth mother, brother and sister quickly put it together. "So this is Kaya, isn't it?" My mother took a moment to recall my name. Her smile was stiff, her voice detached. "You're in the Women's Corps too? This is the first time I've met you." I nodded lightly. "I'm just back on leave. To meet my birth family." She must have guessed as much. She cleared her throat awkwardly. "So why didn't you ever tell us you were in the Women's Corps too?" "Well, it's good. At least you'll be with Chiuchi. She's been personally trained by Commander Wren since she was a child." The director frowned at that. "Kaya is no slouch either." Hearing this, my so-called brother scoffed. "How could she compare to Chiuchi? Who do you think you are, old woman? This is family business." My mother said nothing, still trying to maintain a sense of peace. Their contempt didn't bother me. I already knew how deep the Wren family's favoritism ran. But what they couldn't do was insult the director. My face turned cold. Without hesitation, I grabbed my brother by the collar and slammed him into the wall. "Apologize, now." Everyone froze at my sudden move. "Kaya, how could you hit your brother for a stranger?" My mother's voice trembled, hurt, accusing. Chiuchi quickly chimed in. "That's right, sis. No matter what, we're still family. Can't we just talk?" My brother, furious, struggled to break free, only to find he couldn't even budge. A girl? This strong question mark. But I didn't care what he thought. I ignored the entire Wren family. I just repeated, "Apologize." Chiuchi blinked, clearly annoyed. "Sis, you're a member of the Wren family. Last time you sided with an outsider. Now you're doing it again. I get it. You're still upset that I took your place. But what did our brother do? Let him go." My brother, hearing Chiuchi's words, was clearly moved, while the rest of the Wren family grew even more hostile toward me. The director watched their faces darken and let out a weary sigh. She gently patted my shoulder. "Kaya, let it go. Don't waste your time on people like that." In that moment, she finally understood why I refused to return to the Wren family. Anyone with eyes could see. No matter how often they called me family, they had never truly accepted me. Why should I return to a place like that? The director gave a cold snort and quietly set my small travel bag in my dorm room. Just as she had done with Chiuchi earlier, she reminded me to be careful. "Take care tomorrow, all right? Whatever happens, stay safe." Her words of concern made the Wren family, standing off to the side, look visibly uncomfortable. They called me an outsider, but none of them cared half as much as this woman who wasn't even related to me. My birth mother opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, the words never came. The distance between us was too great. Years apart had left wounds that couldn't heal overnight. Ever since Chiuchi came into their lives, it was as if I'd been erased from their memories. The director and Lian, unlike the Wren family, had no status or power. They couldn't linger. After dropping off my things, they had to leave the military compound in a hurry, still worried for me but helpless to stay. As soon as they were gone, Chiuchi didn't waste a second. She walked straight over. "So, you signed up for the competition too?" She smirked. "You were pretty rude to your brother earlier. If you apologize, maybe I'll go easy on you tomorrow." I ignored her, silently tidying my things. Seeing I wasn't going to respond, Her sister scowled, stepped forward, and scattered my belongings across the floor. Chiuchi is talking to you, didn't you hear? So disrespectful. Looking at the mess of clothes on the ground, I felt irritation rise. Why did the Wren family always insist on picking a fight with me? Couldn't they tell I wanted nothing to do with them? I let out a cold, mocking laugh and glanced at Chiuchi. You? You think you're even worth my attention? I knew the truth behind her perfect image. Sure, she trained with Commander Wren, but her family would never let her suffer real hardship. She had no actual field experience, and she knew it. That's why, in our last life, she accused me of getting her disqualified. But this time, since I refused to return to the Wren family, she had no one left to blame. So she showed up herself, bold as ever, hoping to provoke me and set a trap again. Just as I expected, after I spoke, Chiuchi looked annoyed and stepped toward my bed, pretending to put an arm around me. To the Wren family, it probably looked like she was trying to reconcile. But a moment later, she let out a cry and stumbled backward, making it seem like I had shoved her. Her foot nearly hit the sharp corner of a chair. I sighed internally. She really knew how to play dirty. Still, I reached out and caught her, keeping her from getting hurt. Chiuchi clearly hadn't expected that. Her eyes widened with disbelief. "Why did you pull me?" she snapped. "Were you messing with me? First shove me, then catch me. You scared me." The Wren family didn't hesitate to believe her. Their eyes were full of accusation. "Kaya, you've gone too far. Ever since you came back, you've been nothing but trouble for Chiuchi. All these years, she's been so well behaved. To us, she's our only real little sister." One after another, they raised their voices, condemning me, blaming me. Finally, my brother lost his temper. He pulled out a thick wallet, yanked free a wad of large bills, and threw them in my face. "I don't know who you bribed to get into this competition, but don't think we don't see through you. You just want attention. These pathetic stunts make me sick. Take the money and get lost. Don't you ever call yourself a member of the Wren family again." The bills fluttered through the air, landing all around me. I froze for a moment mid-pack, then slowly looked up, my gaze icy, direct. Not one of them tried to stop him. "So that's how you all really feel, huh?" My mother hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she nodded. As for Commander Wren, his expression remained unreadable, maybe still mulling over my brother's backdoor accusation. But in the end, he said nothing. I gave a faint smirk, picked up the money, calmly accepted it, and walked out of the dormitory. Just as I shut the door behind me, I heard my so-called sister mutter, "At least she knows her place. Who does she think she is, daring to compete with Chiuchi?" That's how it always was with them. A few words from Chiuchi, and they'd already decided I was trying to steal everything from her. But none of them remembered. Everything Chiuchi had, every bit of love, training, recognition, was mine to begin with. I didn't walk out because of the Wren family. I simply didn't want to waste one more second dealing with Chiuchi. She'd failed to frame me once, so if I stuck around, she'd just try again. I grabbed my things and headed straight for the political commissar's office. As soon as I walked in, he looked up, surprised. "Why aren't you in your dorm? What brings you here?" I sat down casually. "I want to change rooms." The commissar, an old acquaintance, and the one who'd recommended me to the Corps, knew me well. He asked what had happened, and I told him everything. When I finished, he gave me a strange look. "You never told them you were the top female recruit 2 years ago? You're a company commander now, aren't you?" I shrugged. "What's the point? It doesn't matter." He let out a sigh. "Fair enough. Their attitude shows they don't deserve you. I used to serve with Commander Wren, but I never imagined his judgment would be this poor." He quickly arranged a new room for me. The next morning, the physical fitness competition began. Chiuchi was so anxious she hadn't slept a wink all night. There was no excuse left to back out. Ironically, in the very first round, we were grouped together for a 20-kilometer run. Chiuchi looked pleased, probably hoping to manipulate the situation again. But the moment the starting gun went off, I surged ahead, leaving everyone, including her, in the dust. Commander Ren, standing with the observers, didn't seem concerned even as Chiuchi, the daughter he personally trained, fell behind. Everyone knew, in endurance events, what matters isn't how you start. It's whether you can finish strong. The commissar, fully aware of my connection to Commander Ren, walked over on purpose. "Old Ren," he said, "I heard both your daughters are competing today." Confident? "No worries about Chiuchi," Ren said with a smile. "I trained her myself from a young age." The other girl, she only cares about herself. She's not worth much. The commissar raised a brow. "I don't know. I have a feeling Kaya might surprise you." Commander Ren shrugged. "We'll see. When the results are in, the truth will speak for itself." Time passed. The results were posted. The commissar grinned and clapped Ren on the back. "Congratulations, old Ren. You really do have an outstanding daughter. She took first place." Commander Ren was thrilled. He accepted every compliment thrown his way. But when we all regrouped afterward, he didn't even glance in my direction. He walked straight to Chiuchi, gently patting her on the shoulder. "Chiuchi, you got first place. I knew you had it in you. You're the best." Chiuchi's face went pale. Around us, the other women in the corps whispered among themselves. "Who is that man?" She didn't even finish near the top. She tried dragging someone else down too. What's going on? Is she pretending to have won? That's ridiculous. Commander Ren's smile froze. He glanced at Chiuchi, whose expression was full of guilt. Then, suddenly, his eyes turned to me, his face shifting as realization hit. "Wait, the real winner was you? Kaya?" "Of course," my teammates chimed in proudly. "Our company commander is the youngest female commander in the corps." Commander Ren looked shaken. "Company commander? Kaya, you're already a company commander." Commander Ren's face was filled with disbelief. The female soldiers nearby all turned to look at him, just as stunned. "Who is this guy?" they whispered. "He knows our company commander's name and face, but doesn't even know what she's achieved?" Commander Ren's lips trembled. I am her father." But I answered coolly. "Yesterday, you all said you'd only recognize Chiuchi. I already took the money. From this moment on, I have nothing to do with the Ren family. Commander Ren, as a leader, surely you wouldn't go back on your word, would you?" He said nothing. His silence was thick with shame, his face tense, his pride dented. He had never imagined that the daughter his entire family cast aside would become the one the entire corps admired. In every round that followed, I crushed the competition. First place every time. Meanwhile, Chiuchi, the daughter he once believed in without question, was eliminated in round 2, sobbing all the way home. If it had been before, Commander Ren would have sent people to comfort her. But now, he could only sit there, red-faced, listening as the political commissar offered me one congratulation after another, each one landing like a blow to his ego. He didn't even have the energy to worry about Chiuchi anymore. When I stepped onto the stage, just a short distance from him, to accept the medal for top female soldier, I could feel his mood grow heavier. He opened his mouth as if wanting to say something. But in the end, the proud Commander Ren said nothing. He just stood there in silence, watching as I walked off the stage. The director and Lian weren't surprised at all. They had known I was strong ever since I was a child. When I applied for the military academy during college entrance exams, they were the only ones who supported me completely. My strength only grew from there. It was only the Ren family who had never seen what I could do. But how could the people who never looked at me possibly understand what I was capable of? Lian threw her arms around me, her eyes brimming. "I got the results from my experiment today too," she whispered. I was genuinely surprised. That experiment had haunted her in our previous life. Back then, after returning to the Lin family, her cousin had stolen all her data, 5 years of work, leaving her with nothing. Her cousin had taken those results, used them to climb to the top, and became the genius in everyone's eyes. While the real genius, Lian, had been left in the shadows. In that past life, the experiment had taken far longer to complete. But this time, after being reborn, Lian remembered every step, every formula. Those long years trapped in the basement had etched it all into her soul, accelerating her progress. She leaned in and whispered, "From now on, you focus on your military career. I've got your back in the academic world." I believed her. Last time her cousin used the stolen research to get appointed as a professor at Qingbei, the most prestigious university in the country. This time, Lian's future would only rise higher. Would the Lin family regret letting her go? Probably. But they wouldn't be the first. The first to regret would be the Ren family. And sure enough, after the competition, Commander Ren returned to camp, with arms full of gifts. He brought along my mother, my brother, my sister. Their intentions, obvious. After seeing the last competition, they'd finally opened their eyes. Chiuchi, the daughter they'd pampered and poured their hopes into, couldn't compare to me at all. I had never believed the Ren family's favoritism toward Chiuchi was completely irrational. Commander Ren worshipped strength above all else. My mother and siblings were just influenced by him. They had always believed that Chiuchi, trained by Commander Ren from childhood, would naturally be stronger than a girl raised in an orphanage. But now, their worldview had flipped upside down. The entire Ren family looked awkward. Finally, Commander Ren stepped forward, and for the first time, he let go of his pride. "I underestimated you, Kaya," he said, voice low. "I'm sorry." My mother and brother stared at him in disbelief. None of them had expected Commander Ren to go that far. I heard the words, and I frowned slightly. Not with resentment, but with a strange mix of relief and indifference. In my previous life, even at the very end, I never once heard Commander Ren say words like that to me. But in this life, I finally did. And yet, I found I no longer needed them. I took a step back, putting distance between myself and the Ren family. "Sorry, we're not close like that. You can call me by my full name, Ko Kaya." Ko is the family name I took from my mother at the orphanage. There was no mistaking the message. I didn't want any connection to the Ren family. Commander Ren's expression shifted. He hesitated, then said, "If it bothers you, I'll drive Chiuchi out. I'll make her leave." My brother and sister looked at him in disbelief. Clearly, they still cared about Chiuchi. What did Chiuchi do wrong? Why should she be kicked out? That's right. Just because Kokaya won one competition, if she doesn't want to come home, why should we chase after her? Commander Ren hadn't expected his own children to push back. His face flushed with frustration. Enough. Chiuchi doesn't carry our blood. All those years of training, she was pretending the whole time. You still can't see it? She even tried to frame someone to dodge the real competition. It's disgraceful. He wanted to say more, but in the end, held his tongue. The Ren family wasn't some legacy military clan. Aside from Commander Ren, neither my brother nor sister had ever served. They had pinned all their hopes on Chiuchi, grooming her as their heir. And now, it turned out, she was nothing but a fraud. So Commander Ren turned to me. But no matter how many times he tried, I refused to give him what he wanted. To me, they were nothing more than a pack of clowns, performing a family tragedy no one asked for. Later, I heard Commander Ren somehow managed to convince my brother, sister, and mother to temporarily put aside Chiuchi, and they all took turns trying to persuade me to come home. I kept refusing. Even so, they wouldn't give up. Not until I finally lost patience. After beating my brother in a fight and reporting him to the political commissar, demanding an official transfer, they finally stopped. On Lian's side, things weren't smooth either. After she submitted her research and was recognized with several awards, her name began gaining traction in the academic world. Suddenly, the same Lin family members who had once looked down on her were showing up at the lab every day, waiting just to talk to her. Lian didn't have my strength, but she had her own weapons: sharpness, clarity, and a brilliant mind. The very first time she saw Zhenlin again, she publicly exposed his arrogance and condescension right in front of everyone. Shamed, the Lin family had no choice but to leave, humiliated. If things had just stopped there, that might have been the end of it. But of course, the Lin family's cousin wasn't content. She couldn't stand the spotlight shifting toward Lian. Obsessed with reclaiming the attention, she became fixated on outshining her. Eventually, she came up with a terrible idea. She sought out foreign experts, trying to pull them into the Lin family's ongoing research project. That reckless act, inviting foreign experts into the Lin family's classified research, led to a complete breach of protocol. If it hadn't been for Lian, who stepped in just in time and recalibrated the experimental compound, everything the team had worked for would have gone up in smoke. Ironically, the Lin cousin, who in our past life had falsely accused Lian of being a traitor, now had to bear the very crime she once pinned on her. She was arrested by the National Security Bureau and interrogated as a suspected spy. Zhenlin and his wife, who had lived under the same roof with her, were implicated. Even though they tried to sever ties, claiming ignorance, they were still expelled from the lab. From that point on, they were barred from all major national research projects. All they could do was sit at home, eyes glued to the TV, watching the biological daughter they had once despised rise to fame again and again, interviewed, praised, celebrated. Then came the final blow. The cousin, released from prison but filled with resentment, set fire to the Lin family home. One person died instantly. Another suffered burns over their entire body. And the Ren family? Their ending wasn't much better. It was the political commissar who told me what happened. Chiuchi, after secretly overhearing a conversation between Commander Ren and the others, realizing she'd been cast aside, snapped. She lost all reason. In a fit of madness, she laced the family's dinner with herbicide. The Ren family, never suspecting a thing, sat down and ate together, completely unaware. They never imagined that the daughter they'd raised for years, the sweet little sister they trusted blindly, was hiding poison behind her smile. That night, Commander Ren, once a soldier who had survived serious wounds from war, died on the spot. My mother and siblings survived, but their respiratory and digestive systems were permanently damaged. They would spend the rest of their lives struggling to breathe, barely surviving on heavy medication. Chiuchi was arrested, sentenced to death. But for the three who remained, life without Commander Ren, and without the financial means for treatment, was unbearable. They couldn't even afford medicine. In the end, they returned to their hometown, defeated. It's said they were so desperate for pain relief, they had to split pills between them, rationing suffering. Eventually, unable to take it anymore, they lit charcoal and ended it all. When Lian and I heard the news, we didn't feel a thing. Their fate wasn't any more tragic than what we had endured in our previous life. This was simply the result of their own choices. They were never truly our family. Our real family was still back at the orphanage, waiting for us to come home on our next break. To sit around the dinner table again, warm, whole, and smiling. No bloodline could ever define that, because no matter what happens, the director will always be our mother.